All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to our live stream. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lannia Small, and I lead global strategic partnerships for our social impact team. This means that I work with our clients, nonprofits, governments, and other stakeholders to advance Indeed's mission of helping 1 million job seekers get hired through our social impact initiatives. So we're here again today to share the most up-to-date job search information and resources that we can provide. We want to make sure that this is as helpful and as relevant as possible for you. So please comment below two things. First, what do you want to know about looking for a job right now? Are there any specific topics that you want us to cover? Our moderators are in the chat right now. They're ready to answer your questions. And next week, we'll go into more depth on some of the topic suggestions that you provided today. So feel free to start leaving those comments below. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So first, I want to talk about some of the recent changes we've made to the website to make it easier for you to find a job. Then I'm going to talk to you about some employers that are hiring urgently right now and remind you how to find and apply for jobs on Indeed. Next, I'm going to do a short economic update before focusing on our topic for the day, information that you need to know when you're returning to work. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some of your questions and success stories from the past week. So just a quick disclaimer before we get started, the information in this video is for informational purposes only. Indeed is not a career or legal advisor. Just an FYI, if you want to come back to this video on Facebook, if you want to listen to certain parts again, you can do that, or you can also check out our YouTube channel in the coming days. We're going to have a link below for that, and you can check it out there. So great, let's start by recapping some of the updates on Indeed. We've made a few changes to make our website, to make it easier for you to find and look for a job during COVID-19. So first of all, employers who post a job on Indeed can now indicate whether a job is fully remote or remote temporarily due to COVID-19. If you're looking for a remote job, just type the words remote in the what or where box on the Indeed homepage. If you're interested in remote careers, but you're not sure where to start, check out indeed.com/career/work-from-home. And you can go to that page and explore remote careers and salary ranges as well. Alternatively, you might be looking for a job as soon as possible. And so we have a few features that can also help. First, Indeed has an urgently hiring tab. If employers are looking to bring on new people right away, they can add an urgently hiring icon to their job post. And then you can find these by keeping an eye out for the red clock that's near the top of the job posting with the words urgently hiring next to it. Second, you can also signal to employers that you're ready to work immediately for any type of role. You can do this by going to your Indeed resume. You hit on the person icon on the right corner of the page, and then you select your resume. And you'll see an option then to toggle on the hashtag ready to work option. This will make it easier for employers to find you and contact you about job opportunities when they're looking to hire someone right away. If you're looking for a job in a different location, we're going to be providing updates about virtual hiring events in the near future, so just keep tuning in and we'll provide more details. Specifically related to COVID-19, we'd love to have your feedback. What do you think about these features? Is there anything else that Indeed could do to make it easier for you to find a job right now? And then finally, can you share with us, what is your biggest challenge in looking for and applying for jobs online? All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about urgently hiring employers. So first, I want to make sure that everyone knows about the Indeed Career Guide page. This lists the companies that are urgently hiring. We update it weekly, and we'll include a link below. But here are some of the major national employers that recently posted jobs on Indeed. The first one is Sprouts Farmers Market. They're currently hiring for 1,200 roles in California, Colorado, Florida, Arizona, and more. Some examples of positions include in-store shopping clerk, cashier, department clerk, and service manager, among others. Next up, we have Kindred Healthcare. So they're currently hiring for 3,000 roles in California, Illinois, Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Washington State. Examples of positions include registered nurse, licensed practical nurse, and certified nursing assistant. Their apply to hire process takes a little under a week, which means that from the time that you apply, you could be working in less than a week if it is a good fit. And then finally, we have Allstate Insurance. So they're urgently hiring and holding virtual interviews for 1,200 roles in New York, Florida, Texas, California, and other states. Examples of positions include insurance sales representative and customer service representative. So to have a full list of these urgently hiring positions, check out the link below in the comment section. Quick pulse check before we go on. What do you guys think about these employer updates? Are they useful to you? Is there any other information that you would want to have right now in terms of employers? Feel free to let us know in the chat. Moving on to job searching on Indeed. If you decide you want to apply for a job on Indeed, here's a quick refresher on how to do it. So to start searching and applying for jobs, you can create or update your free Indeed profile. This will make it easier for you to apply for jobs quickly once you find roles that interest you. Next, you can browse jobs by location in the search bar. Once you've identified a potential employer, click the apply button and follow the instructions from there. Here's a few tips about applying and submitting your application. First, make sure that you tailor your application for the specific job that you're applying for. You can do this by taking a really close look at the job description. You might even want to research the company. You can go on their website or find recent articles about them in the news. If possible, you could even talk to people who've worked there. And you can use this information to customize your application, as well as think about how you would best position yourself for the job. One more thing before we move on, really want to stress that while you're searching for a job online, it's important to stay alert. So look out for anybody who asks you to wire them money, to provide passwords of any kind, or anyone who wants to send you a check via email. These are all likely scams, and you should report them. We know that we want to know about these posts so that we can remove them from the site and continue to protect people. If you do need to report a job, click on the suspicious job posting and then scroll to the bottom of the job post. From there, you can select the Report a Job button and then fill out Report This Job form. This helps us remove spam, fraud, and other low-quality job postings and generally make Indeed a safer place for everyone. So let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about the economy, COVID-19, and the current state of the U.S. job market. So at Indeed, we have a team of economists that provide insights into what's happening in the job market and economy right now. This week, Indeed economist Daniel Culbertson shares that while states across the U.S. have begun to exit from business restrictions to a varying degrees of success, there has been some consistent improvement in the overall U.S. job market. According to Indeed data, the trend in job postings, which is a real-time indicator of labor market activity, there has been improvement over the past 8 weeks. As of June 26th, it was 27.5 lower than 2019 during this same period of time. Some of the businesses and industries that have been hardest hit, such as retail, beauty and wellness, driving, have all seen increases in postings over this same time period. But we still have quite a long way to go before we regain all the jobs that we've lost. So here's what I take from that. It's very promising to see all of these job opportunities growing, especially in hard-hit industries. But while we are still a ways to go out of the woods, so there's a little bit more time till we fully recover. We'd love to hear from you. So if you guys feel comfortable and want to share, please comment below and tell us your thoughts about the changing job market and how it's impacting you right now. If you want to learn more about what Daniel Culbertson has to say or what's happening right now in the US job market, as well as the global job market, a really great resource is our Indeed Hiring Lab page, www.hiringlab.org. This site is run by Indeed's team of economists. So that brings us to our next topic, the tip of the week, what you can expect when returning to work. So now that we've seen some more states open up, we received quite a lot of questions from you all about what people can expect when they're going back to work. So our tip of the week is this. Understand that practices may have changed in your workplace, but don't be afraid to self-advocate. So what can you expect concretely? First of all, some of employers may offer semi-permanent work from home options. The CDC recommends that non-essential service employers offer remote work when available. Over the last few months, many businesses have realized that these roles can be successfully performed virtually. However, for companies that are reopening their offices, the CDC recommends employers conduct private daily health screens before employees come to the workplace or upon arrival at the workplace. These health screens may check for symptoms of COVID-19 like high fever. The screening process might include checking your temperature, making sure that you're not experiencing coughing, shortness of breath. Just a heads up that if the screening is conducted in person, the screening staff may not have to wear personal protective equipment or PPE if they're able to maintain a distance of 6 feet. Next, you might find that your employer is asking you to take sick leave even more seriously than normal. The CDC recommends that employees who show symptoms of COVID-19 notify their employer, stay home, and do not return to work until it's safe to discontinue home isolation. If you become aware that you were exposed to somebody who has been diagnosed with COVID-19, the CDC recommends that you notify your employer immediately, even if you're not showing symptoms. Also, you can expect to be encouraged to frequently wash your hands or wear cloth face coverings. It might be helpful to know that cloth face coverings are not considered PPE. So if you're wearing a mask, it might prevent you from spreading the virus to others by reducing the spread of respiratory droplets when you're talking or when you sneeze, but it will not protect you from exposure to the virus. Examples of PPE include respirators, medical face masks, and face shields. You might also notice a change in how your employers ask you to work with others. So extra care may be taken to keep workers and customers at a safe distance or physically separated. You might see limited or closed access to common meeting areas like break rooms, kitchens, or lounge areas. You might also see an increase in visual markers encouraging distance and cleanliness. I think we've all gotten used to seeing those signs that encourage staff to wash their hands before returning work. Well, you can now expect to see decals or tape marks indicating where to stand to remain 6 feet apart. While some of the strategies that the CDC recommends other employers to include are things like offering flexible work hours, like rotating or staggering shifts to limit the number of workers in the building at the same time. Some other solutions are modifying the workspaces to increase physical distance and space between workstations, creating space between staff and customers by offering drive-through service options, adding partitions between customers and employees, or delivering services virtually, either by phone or video. So these are some of the possible changes your employer may make to the workplace and some of the standards that they might have when the offices reopen. However, there are steps that you can take to make sure that when you're back in the workplace, you can supplement your safety as well as the overall safety of the community. For example, you might want to consider practicing routine cleaning of frequently touched objects, things on your workstation, keyboards, telephones, touchscreens. You could also try to avoid using other people's phones, desks, offices, and work equipment whenever possible. All that said, the process of returning to work is understandably nerve-wracking for some people. If you feel concerned or uncertain about the transition back to the office, know that it's okay to ask questions. Considering asking your employer what efforts they're making to ensure safety and health of their team when they come back to the workplace. In particular, you might find it helpful to ask, what happens if someone gets sick at work? Or if I'm exposed to somebody who gets sick while at work? Another suggestion here, don't be afraid to talk or ask about possible alternatives. For example, if you take public transportation to get to work, consider asking your employer if they can offer accommodations to reduce your exposure. So shifting your work hours so that you commute during less busy times, or ensuring that you have the opportunity to wash your hands as soon as you arrive to work. If you're somebody who has an increased risk of a serious illness, consider asking to have responsibilities that minimize your contact with others. If you work in retail, this might be stocking shelves versus working as a cashier. So everybody's circumstances are different and business practices are in flux during this transition. So know that it's perfectly acceptable to ask your employer what alternatives that might make you feel more comfortable. So in summary, your employer, they could implement new business operations such as health screenings, social distancing, requiring facial coverings, and more strict leave policies. That said, you should feel comfortable asking questions to better prepare yourself for your business's circumstances, as well as discussing possible alternatives with your employer. We'd also encourage you to go to the CDC's website to learn more about the official government recommendations for re-entering the workplace. So that's all for now. Next up, I'm going to answer some of the questions from last week, but before I do, want to just make sure that you can put in the chat, what other questions can we answer for you, specifically about this topic of going back to work in this period of COVID-19? Additionally, do you want more information about working from home and what job opportunities exist? Is there any other resume advice we can give you that might be helpful? Tell us how we can help. Please respond in the chat. So now let's talk about some of your questions from last week. The first up is the following. So I see preferred experience and required experience used interchangeably in job ads. What's the difference between the two? When they say preferred, do they really mean required? This is a really great question. While these terms are similar, there's actually a significant difference between them. Preferred qualifications are abilities and experiences that organizations want to see in a potential new hire, but they may not be deal breakers when it comes to landing the interview. They might also be listed in the additional qualification section. Required qualifications, on the other hand, could be instead termed minimum qualifications. So in most cases, you must meet all of these standards to be considered for the position. If you don't meet these required qualifications, it's unlikely that your application will make it past the applicant tracking system. However, if you meet all of the required qualifications, but not all or some of the preferred qualifications, you might still be considered for the role. Next up, I set up job alerts on Indeed, but a lot of the jobs that I'm getting notified about don't really apply to my skills or what I'm looking for. How do I get alerts about postings that I'm actually interested in? So thanks for this question. In this case, I would recommend leaning heavily on the advanced search option. So when you can edit your job alerts by navigating to the My Subscription section of your Indeed account. You can select a job alert that you'd want to modify and include advanced search criteria in this alert. So this allows you to shape the job alert based on keywords that you want to include or exclude. For example, you can focus on specific companies that you're interested in. You can talk about the type of job, so full-time, part-time, contract. You can narrow down by all of those things, as well as by location, so including work from home. Another tip here, you can also use advanced job search on the Indeed homepage while you're looking to narrow down roles that have already been posted. So do that. You enter the basic information about the job that you're searching for in the what and where box. Then click on the Find Jobs button. And then the Advanced Search button will appear in gray on the results page. it should be to the right of the Find Jobs button. And you can use that to narrow down your search results that way. So our last question, for the first time ever, I got a job in a manager level position. A few weeks later, the company began to lay off employees, including me. I am searching for work again, but I'm not sure if I should list this job on my resume. I want to show this company that this company believed in my ability to be a manager, but I'm not sure if listing such a short experience will make me look bad. So first of all, we're really, really sorry that this happened to you. To answer your question, I'll share what we would typically recommend and then explain how COVID-19 may change that a little bit. So in any role that you include on your resume, employers will likely ask you about it. So it's important that you can communicate what you did and what you learned in that role. Typically, if you've only been in a role for a short period of time, you may not have a significant amount of takeaways to share. If you don't feel like you have learnings or results to show from a work experience, we would normally suggest not including it on your resume. However, this is where nuance gets involved, and as you know, you're not alone. Many people have suddenly become employed due to COVID-19. They've become unemployed, and so these days, listing an abbreviated job search experience will not raise too many eyebrows. I'd actually recommend including this experience on your resume, but make sure the dates are very clear. So the association with COVID-19 and the crisis is also, very clear as well. Then you can think about how you might answer the questions about experience. For example, you might not have had a lot of time to accomplish much in such a short period of time, but you can talk about why you were hired for the role and why you believe that should speak to your potential as a manager. So that's all the questions we have for today. Let us know if this has been helpful. Feel free to respond to the chat with other questions that you might have, and we'll answer them during next week's episode. So finally, I'd like to wrap up today with some good news. I know that it can sometimes feel like there aren't job opportunities out there, but job seekers and employers are connecting every day. And so when some job seekers get hired, they often choose to share their story with us. And so I'm going to share a few stories from people who were recently hired. So one Indeed user wrote, "With this job, I can start getting back on my feet and learn new job skills. Indeed made it easier to filter out jobs I can't apply for." Another wrote, "This job is wonderful for my life because the hours of employment will not conflict with my personal life. This is the job that I've always wanted to do because I enjoy assisting customers via chat." And finally, one other person shared, "I got my job because I showed up in the company's search for an employee and they invited me to apply to this position. I'm so thankful that Indeed has such a wide range of available positions." So to each of these folks, congratulations. Thank you for sharing your story with us. If you guys ever need any inspiration during your job search, check out our website, gotajob.indeed.com. This page shares up-to-date success stories from Indeed users across the world. And we hope that when you get hired, you'll share your stories with us too. So that is it. That is all for today's live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that this content has been helpful, but let us know by commenting below. As I've mentioned, your input helps us figure out what we should focus on each week. If you enjoyed today's session, you can like this page, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you know anybody who could use this information, please consider sharing it with them. Thank you again, and join us next week for another episode. See you soon. Bye.